When you picture the Atlantic Ocean, chances are you imagine a calm blue expanse, a quiet, widening gulf gently pushing Europe and the Americas apart. In contrast, the Pacific steals the spotlight with its notorious Ring of Fire, megaquakes, volcanic arcs, tsunamis. That's where the action is, right? But here's the chilling truth. That assumption is dangerously wrong. In early 2025, a groundbreaking study analyzing brand new high-resolution maps of the seafloor confirmed what geologists have whispered about for decades. Beneath the Atlantic lies not just a passive spreading ridge, but a web of giant hidden faults, each one capable of unleashing Pacific-style fury. And one fault in particular, the Charlie Gibbs Fracture Zone, is now under a spotlight. Researchers have discovered it isn't quietly releasing stress, it's stuck, locked tight, and storing energy like a wound spring. The math is brutal. This fault could rupture in a magnitude 8.0 earthquake or larger. That's not just academic curiosity. An event of that size in that location could be the perfect trigger for something even worse, a massive transoceanic tsunami targeting both North America and Europe. The cracked backbone of the Atlantic. The massive crack in the middle of the Atlantic is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, Earth's longest mountain range. Picture a jagged underwater Himalaya stretching 16,000 kilometers from the Arctic all the way toward Africa. Here, the North American and Eurasian plates, and further south, the South American and African plates, are being torn apart by forces rising from Earth's mantle. Magma wells up to fill the gap, building volcanoes that poke above the waves as Iceland, the Azores, and Tristan da Cunha. Every year, the Atlantic grows by about 2.5 centimeters. That's a geological heartbeat. But here's what textbooks often gloss over. The ridge doesn't spread in a neat, symmetrical line. Instead, it's fractured into offset segments, jaggedly stitched together by deep scars known as fracture zones. These are not passive seams. They are colossal transform faults, the same tectonic design as California's San Andreas Fault, where plates grind past each other with incredible force. The locked giant, Charlie Gibbs. The new international study zeroed in on the Charlie Gibbs Fracture Zone, a behemoth fault system running 2,000 kilometers across the North Atlantic, just south of Iceland. With deep-sea sonar, researchers captured its structure in unprecedented detail. What they found was alarming. While many fracture zones creep, moving slowly, releasing tension and harmless microquakes, a major segment of Charlie Gibbs is locked solid. This means the plates are still moving, but the fault isn't budging. The strain is building year by year, decade by decade. This is a textbook seismic gap, the kind that signals a coming earthquake. And history proves it's not an empty threat. In 1941, a magnitude 8.1 quake ripped through another Atlantic transform fault near the Azores, one of the largest strike-slip earthquakes ever recorded. If it happened once, it can happen again. The new data suggests that Charlie Gibbs has already stored far more stress than was released in that 1941 rupture, which means, in the language of seismology, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Earthquake plus landslide, tsunami. Now you might be thinking, strike-slip faults don't usually cause tsunamis, right? Correct. They mostly slide horizontally, with little vertical movement to push water. But here's the terrifying twist. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is no flat plain. It's a steep, unstable mountain chain of fractured volcanic rock. A violent, minutes-long magnitude 8 quake would rattle these slopes like a jackhammer. The result? Submarine landslides. Billions of tons of rock and sediment could collapse down the flanks of these underwater mountains in a single catastrophic pulse. And when that much material plunges into the depths, It displaces unimaginable amounts of water. That's a recipe for a mega-tsunami, 4 continents in the crosshairs. Because the Charlie Gibbs Fault sits in the very heart of the Atlantic, the threat isn't local, it's hemispheric. Computer simulations show the wave radiating outward like ripples from a boulder tossed into a pond. Only these ripples are walls of water moving as fast as a jetliner. To the east, Ireland, the United Kingdom, France, Spain, and Portugal could be slammed within hours. To the south, the Azores, volcanic islands right in the crossfire, would face devastation. To the west, the greatest danger of all, the tsunami would cross the Atlantic in just 6 to 8 hours, still towering 10-20 meters when it reaches North America's shores. Think of it: Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Miami. Millions living at sea level. 6 hours warning might sound like time, but how do you evacuate an entire coastline? This isn't just geology. It's a civilizational threat, a reminder from the past. This wouldn't be the first time the Atlantic has unleashed watery fury. In 1755, the Lisbon earthquake, magnitude 8.5 to 9, tore Portugal apart. Within minutes, a massive tsunami engulfed the city, drowning tens of thousands and reshaping European philosophy itself. Voltaire wrote Candide in response to that disaster, questioning whether a just God could preside over such catastrophe. The lesson? The Atlantic may look calm, but it has teeth. And when it bites, it leaves scars on both land and culture. The Atlantic's hidden fire. For generations, geologists called the Atlantic a passive margin, quiet, stable, safe. But the new research shatters that illusion. Beneath the waves is a restless, grinding, locked system of faults that could, at any time, unleash an event spanning 4 continents. We fixate on the Pacific's ring of fire. Yet the Atlantic, the ocean that carried empires, explorers, and migrations, holds its own dark secret, a time bomb beneath the waves. If this gave you a new perspective on the hidden forces shaping our planet, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to GeoQuest. Join us as we keep unraveling Earth's mysteries, the beauty, the terror, and everything in between.